Well, it's Wednesday, February 25th. I'm Brittany Noble, and here's what's coming up in the breakdown. Texas Representative Al Green is removed from the U.S. Capitol after he stood in protest during President Donald Trump's address to Congress. The lawmaker explains the message behind his protest. And spiritual teacher, community leader, and author, Brother Nuri Muhammad joins us to discuss building up Black men and women while creating strong families, relationships, and communities. The breakdown starts now. Well, President Donald Trump delivered a full throated defense of his first year back in office in his 2026 State of the Union address. During the speech, he touted his record on immigration, the economy, tariffs, and passing the Save America Act. The address lasted an hour and 48 minutes. That's the longest State of the Union address in recent history. During the speech, the president claimed responsibility for a turnaround for the ages while calling on Congress to enact several of his administration's initiatives. He also talked about ending DEI.
We ended DEI in America. We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps. And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
Well, Republicans offered raucous applause over the course of the speech, while Democrats mostly sat in silence. The president also talked about voting and passing the Save America Act, which requires stricter rules around proof of citizenship in order for people to vote.
To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID.
Well, some Democratic lawmakers vocally pushed back on the president's remarks, most notably in the section on immigration and fraud. Also, Texas Democratic Representative Al Green was ejected from President Donald Trump's State of the Union address on Tuesday night. This is the second straight year he's been removed from the House chamber while Trump addressed Congress. Green was seen on the House floor waving a sign that read, "Black people aren't apes." The gesture was an apparent reference to a video that Trump posted on social media this month depicting former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. As a staff member escorted Green to the door minutes into the speech, he waved his sign at the Republican side of the aisle, where Representative Troy Nehls, a fellow Texan, tried to snatch it. Green spoke about his decision to condemn the president's recent actions and said, "One must not be afraid to stand alone."
As you know, the president has depicted a former president and first lady as apes. The behavior has been declared racist by a good many people. But I don't think the president has really received the message that is unacceptable. He seems to think that he can do these dastardly things with impunity. Tonight, I wanted him to have a person confront him and let him know that black people aren't apes, that black people are not going to tolerate this kind of behavior. I don't speak for everybody, but I speak for people of goodwill who understand that if you tolerate this kind of behavior, you perpetuate it. I refuse to tolerate this level of hate that the president is in fact putting into policy. We must take a stand against this level of invidious discrimination. I wanted him to know, and I wanted him to see it and hear it up close. But judging from the expression on his face, he got the message. He saw it, he got the message, and I hope that others will let him have a similar message so that he will discontinue this behavior. Now, there are people who believe that I should not take a stand such as this. There are others who have taken stands, and they too have been vilified. Dr. King went to jail for taking a stand. Rosa Parks went to jail for taking a stand. Sometimes you have to take a stand. Rosa Parks was alone when she was arrested in a racist southern town, but she was there. There are times when it is, on some issues, better to stand alone than not stand at all. I stood alone, but I assure you, I would do it again, because he must know that there are people who will take a stand against his insidious behavior.
Well, Congressman Green will be on Roland Martin Unfiltered tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar also took a stand at the State of Union address. Many Democrats chose to boycott Trump's address, but Representative Omar decided to attend. During the president's speech, he began to debate Democrats about immigration, requesting that they stand up if they agreed with the statement, "The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens." Throughout the intense interaction, Omar can be heard shouting, "You have killed Americans," as Trump attempted to shame Democrats. Just take a listen.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, Trump continued to slam Democrats for supporting sanctuary cities and called on Congress to enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. Alabama native and U.S. Congresswoman Representative Terry Sewell honored civil rights icon Joanne Bland on the U.S. House floor Tuesday. Sewell paid tribute to the life and legacy of Bland, who died Thursday, February 19th, at the age of 72. No cause of death has been reported. She grew up in Selma and dedicated her life to the civil rights movement, participating in historic marches and working with organizations including the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the NAACP.
Madam Speaker, I rise to honor the extraordinary life and legacy of foot soldier, freedom fighter, and civil rights icon, Miss Joanne Bland, who passed away on February 19, 2026, at the age of 72. As a proud daughter of Selma, Alabama, Joanne dedicated her life to the struggle for civil rights and voting rights. As an active member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, she joined the movement at a remarkable young age, and at just 11 years old, she was one of the youngest participants in the 1965 march from Selma to Montgomery. But her courage did not end on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. By her early teens, Joanne had been arrested at least 13 times for her participation in the civil rights demonstrations. She was also among the courageous students who integrated A.G. Parrish High School, where she opened doors of opportunity for countless children to follow in her footsteps. As an adult, Joanne worked to educate others on Selma's role in the civil rights movement, ensuring that our legacy would continue to inspire future generations. She founded numerous organizations, including the Foot Soldiers Park, Journeys for the Soul, and the National Voting Rights Museum and Institute. Her tours of Selma, Alabama were celebrated for being both informative and inspiring. On a personal note, I am forever grateful for the sacrifices made by Joanne Bland in the name of equality and justice. I know that I get to walk the halls of Congress as Alabama's first Black Congresswoman because of her courage, resilience, and determination. I am honored to have brought her as my special guest at President Biden's 2024 State of the Union address, and will miss her wisdom and friendship. On behalf of Alabama's 7th Congressional District, I ask my colleagues to join me in honoring the extraordinary life and legacy of civil rights icon, Selma's own Miss Joanne Bland. May she rest in power and in peace.
In 1991, she co-founded the Voting Rights Museum in Selma and served as its director until 2007. A woman who claims to be attending service during the Minnesota church protest, covered by former CNN anchor turned independent journalist Don Lemon last month, is now suing him and other protesters. She claims she suffered severe emotional distress as a result of the incident. And Doucette says that she was attending a worship service at the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota, January 18th, when she alleges Lemon and others unlawfully interfered with her ability to freely exercise her religion in a private place of worship. The demonstration was live streamed and held in the wake of Renee Good's death and was meant to confront the city's church pastor, David Easterwood, who is a Minneapolis ICE official. Doucette is suing for an unspecified amount. A new Maryland bill aims to bring justice to more than 230 Black boys who died at a segregated state-run facility and were buried in a hidden, neglected cemetery near the former House of Reformation and Instruction for Colored Children. The legislation seeks to create a commission to investigate these deaths. The bill calls for a forensic survey of the land where these children were buried and reports due between 2027 and 2029. The goal is to formally recognize, memorialize, and potentially rebury these victims. The investigation stems from findings of neglect, disease, and poor conditions at that historic segregated juvenile facility. A new study published by the professors from the Zucker School of Medicine at Hofstra Northwell says a major demographic shift is underway in the United States. White births have fallen below 50% for the first time ever. The researcher calls it a historic milestone, saying minority women are now the majority. The data analyzed Centers for Disease Control and Prevention data on 33 million births in the United States, tracking trends by the mother's race and ethnicity. It revealed that white births at 49.6%, while all other groups taken together, including Hispanic, Black, and Asians, make up 50.4% of all births. Well, a Chicago father credits his 7-year-old daughter with saving his life after falling down the stairs in their Linwood suburban home. 41-year-old Xavier Date, who was home alone with his daughter, Mia, says that he missed his footing going down the stairs, slamming his head on the steps, and quickly lost consciousness. That's when Mia sprang into action. She called 911. She stayed on the line with the dispatcher and let the paramedics in when they arrived. The first grader says she learned how to call 911 during emergencies from her mom, and now she's being hailed as a hero. She was honored by the city council for her bravery and heroic actions. Well, coming up today on The Breakdown, navigating relationships can be so very challenging. But Brother Nuri Muhammad is here to guide us with his wisdom and his books on how to love a Black man and a Black woman. He'll join us next. Stay with us, and remember, for more news, headlines, and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, please visit the Black Star Network. We are your source for stories that matter to our community. We'll be right back. You're watching The Breakdown.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
Welcome back. In a world where relationships can often feel transactional and where systemic forces have long attempted to devalue Black men, women, and families, messages that undermine love are amplified daily across social media. Yet despite the noise, despite the history, and despite the challenges, there remains undeniable hope. Black love endures, Black families endure, and strong, thriving Black marriages are not only possible, but they're happening. Joining us today to talk about building powerful Black marriages, relationships, and communities is Brother Nuri Muhammad, student minister under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, author, activist, and entrepreneur. He's appeared on The Breakfast Club, The Council Culture Show, hosted by Nick Cannon, The Cam Newton Show with Cam Newton, and now The Breakdown with Brittany Noble. Brother Nuri Muhammad, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Sister Brittany. It is an honor to share space and time with you on this wonderful platform.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you. You wrote a number of books, including How to Love a Black Man, How to Love a Black Woman, Before You Say I Do, After Saying I Do. Well, tell us why this is important to you.
Well, my teacher, as you introduced, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he made this revolutionary observation and statement once about the solving the roots of our problems of us as a people. And he said this, he said that where there are no strong marriages, you cannot have strong families. Where there are no strong families, you cannot have a strong community. And without strong communities, you cannot have a strong nation. So marriage becomes the cornerstone of all nation building. In layman terms, we'll never get the hood right until we get the home right. So out of that, it hurt me, Sister Brittany, to be traveling around the country and with the fellow comrades in the struggle for justice and for freedom and equality in America, and to always have to have sidebar meetings with the leaders of our people, the organizers, the great teachers and activists. They seem to always be in some form of a marital or relationship problem. And I said, man, if they are out on the battlefield trying to fight for us as a people, and then they have to go home and fight again, how will they ever have the energy to perform well the task that God chose them for? So I always say this, that a black man, the worst thing that a black man could ever go home to is to go home and have to fight round two with his own woman. And the worst thing that a black woman can go home to is to come home to a man that haven't been fighting at all. So that out of that root statement from the minister, and then the assessment of the teachers and activists among our people having so many relationship problems, having to fight at home and fight in the streets, made me want to be able to do something to help to convert our homes into spiritual recharge centers where we can unplug from this world and our work and come home to a pure place of love and extract from that environment that we call home peace and power, that we can fight better for God and our people.
You know, before you can build up a healthy home, you also talk about the importance of building a healthy relationship with yourself before partnership.
That's right. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this. He said, you cannot love anyone more than you love yourself, not even God. So if God is the creator and you are his creation, how could you love him if you don't love what he created? So there has to be the root of self-love, and Jesus taught this too. It was just tucked in a way that we didn't catch it, because he said about these two commandments that I give you this day, and on these two hang all the laws and all the prophets. Even though we're two commandments given, there's three loves inside the two commandments. He said, number one, I want you to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Second one, I want you to love your neighbor or your sister and brother as you love yourself. Well, that's three loves. Loving God is one, loving neighbor is the other, but loving self is the first one, because you can't love the brother, the sister, the neighbor if you don't love yourself. So that is the way these two books were written. The third of the book starts off with the protocols of self-love to be able to convert us into the magnet for the ideal mate, not a person that needs that mate to make us into who we're supposed to be.
And tell us more about how a black man loves a black woman and how a black woman loves a black man.
Well, people, we've been getting some feedback from the title, because they like, love is love. But even Betty Crocker has enough sense to know that to get the same result, it all depends on the environment that you're trying to bake the cake. So when they design a recipe for red velvet cake, the recipe is different for New Orleans than it is in Denver, Colorado. Why? Because one is called the Mile High City and the other one is the lowest point in America. You have to put different ingredients in a different order to get the same result based upon location. So it is with us as a people. We are a people that we can't forget that we have been hit in the head, kidnapped, brought 9,000 miles from our homeland, robbed of our name, our culture, religion, more ways, folk ways, norms, and God. We are people that have been broken and brought down to New Orleans. So there's a different recipe that we need in order for us to get the best out of one another versus the formula others are using to get the best out of themselves. And I submit that, as you said in the introduction, the transactional relationship model is the Western way, but that's not the way we used to see things. We didn't see a black man or a man as being a human ATM machine, a bodyguard, and a handyman. And we didn't see our woman as being a personal chef, a maid in a pleasure box. That's the transactional side. It's called holy matrimony, Sister Brittany. It's called a sacred union, a covenant connection. These are all spiritual terms found in the vocabulary of God. So what we attempted to do in the How to Love a Black Man, How to Love a Black Woman is lift the gender-specific commands from the Lord of the Worlds found in Bible, Quran, and in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, scientific experiments, history, blend it all together and present it in a very user-friendly way that we can work a God-centered divine formula for love instead of this transactional Western European format that doesn't seem to be working too good with us having a 75% divorce rate.
Mm. Now, let's dig into it some more. According to research published in Essence magazine, Black women have the lowest marriage rates and highest rates of never having been married among other racial groups in the United States. Why is this?
Well, unfortunately, it seems to be a major product of what you could call plantation psychosis or post-traumatic slave syndrome for us. In the sense there's a great scientist named Naeem Latif. They did a study on the American psyche and the effects of it, the transatlantic slave trade and slavery on Black people. And what they found in their research is that 94% of the decisions that we make as a people in the current time are rooted in plantation life. And only 6% of our decisions today are rooted in our God-centered African culture we had before we were kidnapped and Caucasianized here in the West. So in doing slavery, there were three things, Sister Brittany, that were made illegal. One was to read, another was to pray, and the third thing that was made illegal was for us to marry one another. So we were breeded. A fertile woman, a strong stud from one plantation, threw into a horse stable, make a baby, but don't take care of the baby. So we've been trained. Mm. It's gone to the point now that because of our premature cognitive commitment, trained in slavery to be a certain way, and the majority of our decisions being rooted in plantation life. Yesterday, it was against the law for a Black man to marry a Black woman. Now today, we almost got to make a law to get him to do it. And it's a part of the subliminal psychological programming that we are operating from a negative genetic memory rooted in plantation life. So we have to break that cycle. We got to put to bed the Willie Lynch curse, and we have to treat plantation psychosis and post-traumatic slave syndrome to shake this so that we can get back into having true Black love. Do you know, before we were brought here, when you go to the Pyramid Giza in Egypt, which is considered the last living wonder of the world, and the reason it's a wonder because they wonder how we did it. And if you look at this Pyramid Giza, it's 451 feet tall, 451 feet deep in the earth, covers 13.5 acres of land made of 1 million blocks of gold, marble, and granite weighing 3.5 tons apiece. Each stone is stacked mathematically precise, east and west, north and south, up in the air, down in the earth, not deviating 1 square inch. And we built it without a John Deere, Caterpillar, bulldozer, crane. Our mind did it. Inside that pyramid, though, when you go in there today in the modern time, every time you see the image of one of the strong Black male gods, if you will, Osiris, Alafun, Osa, you'll see next to them, Sister Brittany, where someone's been scraping whatever used to be by them. And guess what? What was by them? See, Osiris was always with his queen Isis. Alafun was always beside his queen Ilida. Osa was always posted with his queen Aset. But they didn't want us to know. They're not behind, but beside every strong Black man has always been a strong Black woman, and vice versa. So they denied us that image of what our ancestors were trying to send us about the importance of us sticking together in the bond of holy matrimony. We've got to go back to revisit our habits, our culture, our diet, our thinking, and go back to those God-centered African ways and get rid of this plantation plate that we eat for dinner and give them back all of the other habits they taught us as a slave.
Well, you can purchase Brother Nuri's books, How to Love a Black Man or How to Love a Black Woman, on Amazon. Your other books like Before You Say I Do After I Say I Do and Let This Mind Be in You is also available on Amazon. Brother Nuri, thank you so much for joining us and talking to me here on The Breakdown.
Thank you so much, Sister Brittany. Hopefully we can do it soon again.
I cannot wait. Thank you. Well, coming up next on The Breakdown, last night on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland held a special called The State of Our Union on the Black Star Network. Did you miss it? That's okay. We'll have the highlights on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Well, the family of Robert Lee Green are asking for your help. He went missing in Tallahassee, Florida, March 20th, 2025. The location and circumstances of the 57-year-old's disappearance are still unknown. There's a deep concern for his safety. He was last seen with a backpack and a violin. Please call the Gadsden County Sheriff's Department at 850-627-9233. Well, in case you missed it on Roland Martin Unfiltered, he covered the State of the Union address. He also points out that not only are Black workers under attack, but democracy is as well. Here's more of the conversation.
Folks, one of the areas that this administration has really been targeting is labor. Even though you had the Teamsters president who stood up there and has really been aiding Republicans in every possible way. This administration does not like labor at all. And when you look at African Americans, the percentage that we make up, when you start talking about SEIU, we start talking about the National Education Association, American Federation of Teachers, and of course, federal government employees as well, the numbers are significant. Becky Pringle, she's the president of the National Education Association, joins us right now. And Becky, anybody who understands the history of this country, who understands the growing middle class, the reality is the numbers don't lie. And that is African Americans have greatly benefited from labor unions in this country. This administration has done all they can to attack labor. In fact, one of the things that they did was try to get rid of, or immediately came in and got rid of these federal labor contracts for federal employees. We know 1 in 5 federal employees are African American. And then when you start talking about workers on the state government level, county government, city government, school government, we're talking a significant number of black folks nationally.
Absolutely. It's good to join you again, Roland, and thank you so much for lifting that up. The reality is that under this Trump administration, we've gone in the wrong direction when you talk about numbers. Not that this administration cares about facts, but the fact is that the unemployment rate for Black working people in this country was at its lowest ever during the Biden administration. And since the Trump administration came into power, that has turned exactly in the opposite and wrong direction. You are right that labor unions have lifted the Black population throughout history into the middle class. And by the way, Roland, it's one of the reasons why the Black percentage of union membership is at the highest point, higher than any other groups, honestly, because they understand the power of coming together in a collective way. And we have the facts, we have the information historically to demonstrate that workers who belong to a union, on average, earn higher wages. But you know, Roland, it's so much more than that, because we understand that as diversity, equity, inclusion is under attack, as literally our public education system is under attack, as our democracy is under attack, we understand our unique role as unionists and especially as educators to fight back against this administration and fight for the vision of the United States of America that we know all people deserve.
Right now, early voting is taking place in Texas. We're seeing elections in North Carolina as well, getting ready for March 3rd. More people have already voted early in Texas right now than total folks voted in 2022. Talk about how critically important the role labor is playing when it comes to driving people to the polls. You've got, of course, an open United States Senate, got a competitive Senate seat in North Carolina. You've got Sherrod Brown, who's back running for the seat in Ohio. You've got a seat in Kentucky. You've got John Ossoff defending his seat in Georgia. You've got Susan Collins, who is facing a stern test, could lose in Maine. You've got Iowa as well. Just walk folks through in terms of how critically important it is to drive boots on the ground, organizing and mobilizing, because what I keep telling people, you can whine, complain, yell, scream, holler, post on social media, but the first step to changing what's going on is to remove Republican control of the House and Senate.
You know, Roland, unions all over this country understand they're in a unique place to lift up the voices of working Americans. And we know that not just our members, but in our case, certainly our parents, our allies and communities, you know, the NEA with our 3 million members, we have members in every single congressional district in this country. That means that our members alone can make the difference in a lot of these elections. So we understand that teachers and support staff are the most trusted voices in any community. And we are uniting together to do that. You talked about, Roland, organizing, mobilizing. What I say to our members and our allies is we have to commit every single day, every day, to 7 actions, what I call my 7 action verbs. Every day, we've got to make a commitment to educate, to communicate, to organize, to mobilize, to legislate, to litigate, and 7th verb, elect. Because we know with all of those other things, until we change the people who are in those positions, who don't care about our public schools, the foundation of this or any democracy, who don't care about our kids, our communities, or quite honestly, the democracy in this country, we have to show up in a way in 2026 that not only are going to protect the voters, but we have to protect the vote by turning out in record numbers, which we saw in 2025 and all the special elections that you talked about. And that is our goal in 2026.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be out there covering a lot of this on the road, Becky. So we certainly appreciate you joining us on tonight. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland talks to Texas Congressman Al Green about his sign and being escorted out of Trump's State of the Union address. The president and CEO of Just Leadership USA, a national organization influencing criminal justice policy at the federal level, will also be on tonight talking about what Trump didn't say about crime prevention, reentry, and economic stability. Well, coming up after the break on The Breakdown, we're talking about digital power, digital protection, and what it really takes for Black communities to thrive online. The founder of Onyx Impact will join us after the break. Stay with us.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just 2 millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Violent white supremacy is, quote, the most persistent and lethal threat in the homeland.
The greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violence stream, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology.
They are coming after everything in Black America. MAGA and Donald Trump are specifically targeting Black America. They are going after the money. Attack Black Lives Matter. Attack critical race theory, attack woke, DEI. MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people.
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Black Star Network.
Well, today on The Breakdown, we're talking about digital power, digital protection, and what it really means for Black communities to thrive online. From misinformation campaigns to targeted harassment, the digital space has become one of the most consequential battlegrounds of our time. And the question remains, who is building power and who's being harmed? Our next guest is working to make sure that Black communities are not just surviving online, but we're leading. Isosa Osa is the founder and CEO of Onyx Impact, an organization that's focused on fighting digital harm, amplifying Black voices, and creating healthier online ecosystems. Isosa, thank you so much for joining us today on The Breakdown.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you. Tell us a little bit more about how Onyx Impact got started.
At Onyx Impact, we got started after seeing time and time again how the overwhelming online environment of information was being used to erase Black history, was being used to depress Black turnout. And so we wanted to create an organization that would provide resources, guidance, programs, help to make sure that Black folks would always have their voices heard, especially in this era of disinformation and propaganda.
And tell us a little bit more about those resources and those programs that you provide.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just launched a program called Invest in Black Media, where we are investing over $500,000 in Black media organizations. We just saw last night, right, where that we are in a digital era where propaganda is just moving faster than the truth. And we put out a report last year called the Blackout Report that documented over 15,000 harms to Black folks in just the first 8 months of the administration, right? And so we are very clear-eyed about this backlash against equity and democracy, but we are trying to be equally as clear-eyed about our power and the fact that Black media is on the front lines. And they've been on the front lines for over 200 years. And so our job now is to make sure that in the age of AI, disinformation, rollbacks, that Black media has the capacity, the reach, the resilience to continue to shape and safeguard our future. So we're proud to invest over $500,000 in institutions like the National Association of Black Journalists, the Black Press, Archiving the Black Web, the National Association of Black Broadcasters, and to digital creators, right? Across the board, we want to make sure that in this attack on Black media and this attack on Black journalists, right, that folks are willing to show folks that it's possible to stand up and say no.
When you talk about digital harm, can you be a little bit more specific? Like, what exactly does that look like for Black communities right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen the rise of Black erasure, right, online, and in our news and communities, taking away Black accomplishments, destroying Black data online. We have seen the attempts to try to say our progress and accomplishments that didn't happen. We're also seeing, attempts to distort what type of information we see on in online spaces, right? That can look like anything from taking a kernel of truth and twisting it to make it seem into something that didn't happen or isn't given full context. We see folks pushing. We see the president himself pushing out photos of fake photos of Black civic leaders, pushing out harmful depictions of the Obamas. Right, we're being flooded consistently. There's the hyperbolic spread of dis and malinformation that is targeting our community and trying to push, trying to dissuade folks from not just civic engagement, but from all sorts of important kind of daily important types of engagement in our daily lives.
Listen, you've worked at higher levels of voting rights and policy reforms. How did those experiences shape your understanding of misinformation and digital influence campaigns that impact us?
Absolutely. When I worked at Fair Fight Action, founded by Stacey Abrams, right? I saw firsthand how disinformation was used to attack Black election workers, right? How disinformation very quickly turned into threats and violence around our elections and the voting process, right? We're still seeing the ramifications of that today with what's happening in Fulton County, right? We also saw how important it was to provide folks with the guidance necessary to navigate through the harms of mis and disinformation as it relates to voting, to make sure people knew that there were voting options, to make sure people knew that their vote would be counted. And those experiences have 100% shaped what we're doing at Onyx Impact today, because this problem has gotten significantly worse, right? We're no longer talking about individual lives. We are in an all-encompassing environment of propaganda.
Mm. For viewers who are watching who may be overwhelmed by what they see online, what are some tangible steps communities can take to protect themselves and build digital power?
Yes, absolutely. So when we're talking about tangible steps folks can take, the first step is to recognize what online manipulation is going to look like, what online tactics are going to look like, right? And that is one, the overwhelming effect is a tactic. We are not supposed to see the same headline 45 times in a day. Our brains aren't built for that, right? And so it is knowing that when you're scrolling, that is what's going to happen. That is what the algorithm is going to push to you, and being able to identify and move past that. The second, I would really encourage, before we're sharing information, to just to pause, especially when that information invokes a really strong negative emotion, right? That confirms our bias. That is the easiest way to spread things that are false online. And I would encourage folks to go to digitalgreenbook.org. That's one of the sites that we are really proud to have put up, the digitalgreenbook.org, and it has all types of tactics to help us protect Black truth, protect our kids, protect our culture, right? From not just from online harm, from attacks on Black media, from attacks on Black progress. And so really thinking through what individual steps could be for our communities to come together and create a healthier digital future. And that's you can find it at onyximpact.org, our own website. And you can also find it at digitalgreenbook.org.
Isosa Oso, founder and CEO of Onyx Impact. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing to make sure that our community is protected and informed.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, coming up after the break, she turned $600 in food stamps and a kitchen startup into a multi-million-dollar empire. We will tell you the story after the break. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of Black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased Black voters. Their goal, erase Black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
And she made lemonade and transformed the trajectory of her life. Indianapolis native Brianna Murphy started the Pink Nookie, a feminine hygiene business in her kitchen with $600 in food stamps. And it's now a multi-million-dollar empire. Now based in Atlanta, she operates 3 warehouses for her business, showing many that anything is possible when you have faith and a vision. Brianna joins us today to talk about how she brought her dream to life. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to start the Pink Nookie.
So originally it was just me creating something to help myself with a problem that I had. During my pregnancy with my son, I kept yeast and I kept BV because his testosterone was throwing my pH off. But at the time, my husband was an active addict. He was addicted to heroin and I was flat broke. The only thing I had at the time was my food stamp card. And I started looking up holistic remedies with ingredients that were edible. And I then went to grab those ingredients and created the first product that I sell, which is the Nookie glaze. And it just turned into my friends using it and my husband encouraging me to sell it.
Tell us a little bit more about that product.
Okay, I do have it right here. So this is the Nookie glaze. It is a yoni oil, but we call it Little Miss Do It All because it literally can do it all. We use it in our hair. We use it in our skincare regimens, mosquito bites, diaper rashes, literally everything. But this is the product that helped me stop battling with recurring yeast and BV because it does have those antibacterial and antifungal properties. So it helped with that itching, that odor, and that discharge.
Well, with a few hygienic products geared toward Black women already on the market, why should people use yours? Like, what makes it stand out from everyone else's?
So one thing that I always say is there's brands everywhere, right? When you go down the aisle of bread, there's bread brands that you've never heard of. So it never was my goal to take over the whole market. The women that are for Pink Nookie will find Pink Nookie. But one thing that I do that separates me from a lot of handmade brands is I invest the time and the money to make sure that my formulas and things are not just me saying something works, but I have done the testing with scientists to make sure that my formulas are not growing yeast, that they're not growing mold, they're not growing any bacteria. We actually did a trial that insert MRSA, staph, and all kind of other nasty bacteria into my products. And within 7 days, 99.9% of them were gone. So it's not, you don't just take my word for it. The people who did go to school and the scientists confirmed that what I say is going on.
And tell us more about what's been the most challenging part about starting a business and maintaining it.
As a Black-owned business, we're not getting the funding. So everything that I do is operated based on cash flow. So everything that you see is coming from an order that was placed on my website. So securing funding, I've never gotten a loan, I've never gotten a grant. So I would say securing funding and staying afloat with just cash flow is the hardest thing I've ever experienced.
Why do you believe it's important to have representation with hygiene products in our community?
I feel like it's important because we don't see ourselves in most brands. Most brands are using other cultures to, catapult their product, but nobody cares about us. The Black women are the most underserved community, I feel like. So for me, it's important to see myself in a brand. For me, it's important to be very transparent in all things for my brand so that people, know that they can trust what I'm saying.
So I understand that your husband also has a brand now called Sacked.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So most problems that women have come directly from our men. If their diet is off, if they are not doing what they should be doing in the bedroom, then it throws us off down there. So it goes hand in hand. Your hygiene is just as important as your partner's hygiene.
All right, Brianna, thank you so much for joining us. Before I let you go, tell people exactly where they can find your products.
Our website is www.thepinknookie.com, and you can find both Pink Nookie and Sacked on that website. And on your first order, if you use code Miss Nookie, MRS Nookie in all capital letters, it'll give you 15% off your purchase.
All right, Brianna, thank you so much for joining us. Brianna Murphy, with the pink. We appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I just want to remind you that you can shop blackstarnetwork.com. That's where you can find official Black Star Network gear. You can also support Black-owned media and Black-owned businesses. Shop blackstarnetwork.com, where there is a growing collection of Black-owned businesses, just like the Pink Nookie. And we have so many others featured on the site, apparel, accessories. You can get gifts there. We just want to keep our money circulating in our community. Well, that's going to do it for us today on The Breakdown. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Please be sure to keep the conversation going online. You can follow me at The Noble Journalist. I'd love to hear what's going on in your neighborhood. Don't forget, we'll be back here tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern, same place, Black Star Network. For more special coverage and on-demand content, you can always go to our website, blackstarnetwork.com. Have a great day.